Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a wonderful episode of the Duck Zone. It is the national championship show. We're down to two, Notre Dame and Ohio State. It's been an interesting season and an interesting playoff. I'm excited for this matchup, and I am expecting a very good game. This is Michigan's nightmare matchup, but they won the title last year, so I guess that's what you get for winning the title. James, how are you doing? Is there any quick things that you want to talk about this matchup? Things that we saw last week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, what's going on? Finally feeling better. 2025 has been off to a rocky start in terms of sickness, so that's always fun. But yeah, these past two games I thought were really fun. Both came down to the wire. Maybe not down to the wire, but they were, the Ohio State game was closer than it, if you just looked at the final score. But I thought both games were super fun as well, especially the Notre Dame game with Jeter kicking the walk-off field goal. But yeah, I guess a couple things I just wanted to mention. Two college football notes. Carson Beck entered the transfer portal, and he will be following his TikTok basketball girlfriend to Miami. So that'll be interesting to follow and see if he can rebound and kind of bump his NFL draft stock up a little bit and keep Miami in the playoff chase for next year. The other one of note is Quinn Ewers is surprisingly, at least to me, surprisingly, declining what we think is a $10 million offer to Michigan. At least that's what I've read. And he's entering the draft. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the greatest business decision on his end. If you can make $10 million, I mean, that's in one season, especially, of college football. That's way better than the rookie contract in the NFL, but maybe he's just making a business decision of his own to realize that, the quarterback draft class isn't great. He can maybe get on with a team and make it work for, the long haul. Maybe he thinks if I stick around or do another year, I could get hurt, or I don't know. I mean, what do you think? Is that smart on Quinn, or
I mean, we've seen it a lot here in the last, even the past week. I was going to say the past few years, but just in the past week, we see guys declare and then they do a quick U-turn and they land somewhere else. So he could be one of those guys that does a quick U-turn. But as you said, it is a very weak quarterback class that's coming out. So yeah, it could be a shot for some of these guys to have a shot at maybe starting a game next year. Quentin Ewers' stock really kind of dropped. Carson Beck's kind of felt the same way. Um, and some of them might be thinking, if I declare this year rather than next year's draft looks like it could be pretty solid from the quarterback position. But Cam Ward, Sanders, and then you got a whole bunch of guys that are like, I just don't feel like a lot of these guys are going to hit at the next level. So who knows? And you might be able to get a shot, especially with the amount of teams we've seen on the NFL side. There's going to be about 8 teams scrambling for a quarterback. And I know this is the college football show, and this, I'll say something about the NFL. Coming off of like Sam Darnold's last two performances, the playoffs, and then week 18, I don't know what Minnesota is going to do anymore. I felt like Sam Darnold could be the guy after those last two. It feels like J.J. McCarthy's probably going to be the guy. Where's Sam Darnold going to go? There's a lot of moving pieces. Tennessee, Cleveland, Giants. There's a lot of teams at the next level that need a quarterback, and just not a lot of guys that can play it. So the quarterback
well, the
position.
big the big thing too. I feel like is money. Like, so you look at a team like, again, not to talk NFL, but you look at a team like the 49ers, and they're able to manage and build around a Brock Purdy on his rookie contract. So why wouldn't you go to JJ McCarthy if you're the Minnesota Vikings to try and, I mean, they already have ridiculous skill position players, but maybe try to get a better running back and then let Sam Darnold go somewhere else to a team that's going to pay him. So
Yeah. Wow. So it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously, we'll talk draft later, close to the day, but I do think it's going to be a really good wide receiver class, and we've seen a lot of really good wide receivers in this tournament and throughout the season. I also think it's going to be a pretty solid defensive class too. A lot of defensive players that have looked really good should be good at the next level as well, but quarterback not as much. One more question before we go into the Ohio State Notre Dame national championship. I know we've been kind of back and forth here on this tournament. We know that there's some things that got to be ironed out. But what has been your response to the tournament year one, the 12-team tournament, that is?
I know we've been harping on it for the last couple shows, but I think just the seeding. If it were me, I would just seed it 1 through 12 based on the teams that make it in. So obviously, okay, you have your Arizona States and your Boise States. That's fine, but don't give them a bye. Like, give the top 4 seeds a bye. Maybe try that out. I mean, not that I have any push towards anything even happening, since you and I are nobodies doing a podcast about college football. We have no vote, no voting power, no way to push the committee in any way. But like, if it were up to me, give the top 4 seeds a bye,
Yeah.
and then seed it. Have the 5 team play the 12. So on and so forth, like how they did, but just have it seeded differently. That'd be my only thing.
Yeah. Seeding is probably my biggest thing as well, and just kind of ironing out some of these mistakes that felt like disadvantages to certain teams. The only other thing that I've now felt now that we're coming up to the national championship, and I know some people kind of had some rumblings about this years ago, it feels really late to have a national championship for college football. Like it feels like it feels really separated from the season at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we've never seen it go this far before, so it's gonna take. It's one of those things. Give it like maybe 2 more years, and it'll just be like it is what it is. But we're so used to it with the NFL. It's like, yeah, the playoffs go a couple weeks. The NBA is basically a season. You get a full season of playoff basketball after a full season of regular
Yeah,
season basketball. The baseball playoffs, it's one of those things where they add a wild card team in baseball. You have your diehards, your old timers, and they're all up in arms. They don't like
yeah,
change, and over a couple of years, it's just like, well, it's just nomenclature. It's just what you know. So
yeah.
maybe next year, since we've gone through it once, we'll be like, oh, national championship at the mid to late January.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah. It's just funny that national championship and Super Bowl feel like they're very close this year. It's just wild to look at it on the calendar. That said, let's move into this championship game. Notre Dame taking on Ohio State. One of the big surprises that I saw, we kind of reacted to it right before the show. This line started at 10 points in favor of Ohio State. It's that since moved down closer to 8 now. But opened at 10. I felt like that's a lot. I think it's going to be a good game. What are you expecting out of this one? And more importantly, who are you picking?
What I'm hoping for is a good game. What I'm expecting, I mean, it's really hard not to pick Ohio State in this game. I mean, they seem so dialed in right now, offensively and defensively. So I'm gonna have to pick Ohio State to win this game. Unfortunately, I don't like that, but I can't see them losing this game with how they've been playing. I mean, they held Texas to 14 points. The week prior, we saw them just absolutely demolish Oregon, held an incredible offense to 21 points. So defensively, they're already there. And, Notre Dame, I wouldn't say is like a great offense. Riley Leonard is a good quarterback, but he's not like the traditional pocket passer. He runs a lot. He'll make the plays when he needs to, but I wouldn't say Notre Dame's like a high tempo offense. So this game, I'm hoping and I think is going to be kind of dirty. Like Will Howard, I wouldn't say is like a great quarterback too. So yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a slugfest. At least I hope, and I hope it's fairly offensive from both sides, just so we can get like a fun national championship. But last thing I'll say, and then I'll kick it over to you. But how about Will Howard and Riley Leonard, two transfer quarterbacks coming in and in their first year at their new schools, just taking their teams to the championship. So
Yeah.
it's probably the new normal for what we're going to see in college football with this transfer portal.
Yeah, got to hit the portal hard, but I'm in agreement with you on a couple of things. One, that Ohio State defense has been playing outside of its mind, shutting down three of the best offenses in college football this year: Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas to 17, 21, and then 14 is pretty incredible. And for the most part, those first two games, those games were over quick. The Texas game, Texas hung around there for quite some time. The question really will be, can Notre Dame score? That's going to be the biggest question for me. I think Notre Dame has the defense to slow down Ohio State. Texas was able to do that a little bit. They did. Notre Dame did a good job of slowing down Penn State, in my opinion. So I think Ohio State. So sorry, I think Notre Dame's defense has the ability of taking out Ohio's offense to an extent. The question will be, can they score? My head is really saying Ohio State. My heart is really wanting Notre Dame. I'm pretty torn on this one, honestly. If I'm a betting man, I'm probably going to take Notre Dame +8 or whatever the line ends at. It's a lot of points. It's hard to straight up go up against Ohio State based off of how good that defense has been. I think I just have to go Ohio State. They've been just too dominant in this tournament, but my heart is hoping that Notre Dame somehow pulls off the upset in Atlanta.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. I'm kind of pulling for Notre Dame, and honestly, the X factor for me for Notre Dame isn't even Riley Leonard. I think it's going to be the health and how much Jeremiah Love plays. I mean, the guy's a playmaker. He really has to be able to, establish the run for anything to even open up. Because I wouldn't say Notre Dame is, they don't have a ton of like skilled wide receivers. I think their highest wide receiver, like total yardage on the team was like a little over 450 or 470 or something like
Yeah,
that. It's like, I mean, like we said, or like I said, or I don't know if you said it too, but Riley Leonard runs a lot. So,
yeah,
Jeremiah Love's going to be super, super important. And
yeah.
even Aeneas Williams, I mean, if Love tweaks that ankle, he's going to really have to step up his game. And then the one thing I'll say, the key defensive guys for me on either side, Jack Sawyer for Ohio State has been a monster, and he's a hometown kid. He's from Ohio, so he's someone to keep an eye on. And Xavier Watts, safety for Notre Dame, he's a baller. He'll be playing at the next level. So, the defenses are there for both teams. We know the Ohio State offense, if it's clicking, is unreal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Notre Dame's going to have to be on their game offensively, and they cannot afford any turnovers.
Can't afford turnovers, and they got to do something that the other three teams that faced Ohio State so far in this tournament couldn't do, which is run the ball. Tennessee, Oregon, and Texas all couldn't run the ball on Ohio State. And it's where Notre Dame gets a lot of their yards on the ground. So we shall see. James, any final thoughts before we log off here?
I don't think so. It's been a fun college football year. Interesting playoff. We had kind of the first half where it was just blowout central, and the one good game we got was an ASU Texas game, and now we've gotten in the final. I guess we'll call it the final four in the what we're used to from previous years. We got two good games, so hopefully we're entertained this coming Monday, and the country's shown a good game. I mean, I'm not a fan of Ohio State or Notre Dame, so I couldn't care less. So yeah.
Yeah, let's hope for a good game. I'm good for that. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you tomorrow. We got the next round of the NFL playoffs to talk about. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. Not a long time from the show to the next in the wonderful football playoff season that we are in. Until then, have a wonderful night, and we'll see you all soon.
Bear down.